Hello and welcome back to another podcast episode of American Pylon. Joined by our regular crew, James Thomas Fanning IV, Tyler Combs, David Grayson behind the computer, and actually a new guest that we've invited on our show, one of our longtime friends from college, Eric Rumney. So happy to have you here, Eric.
Eric, we've mentioned Eric a couple times, our resident degenerate gambler. So he's going to give us some insights into Vegas.
That was a very nice intro. Appreciate glad to be here.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Happy to have you.
I'll raise my hand if I have anything to say and try to keep the profanity to a minimum.
All right, let's do the show.
It's a family show. Yeah. That's right.
Yep.
So we're going to start off, again, talking about UGA football, but unfortunately on a heavier note. Obviously, we have to address Zamir White's ACL tear, a non-contact injury, and I think a scrimmage or a practice, and it's...
It was a closed scrimmage, but there were members of the McGill Society there, I believe, which is a donors. If you've donated X amount of dollars, you can go watch.
This is his second torn ACL on the other knee, tore an ACL in the high school playoffs. So I wanted to address this, how you think it's going to affect the team, the morale in the locker room going forward, and then we'll talk a little bit about the depth chart from there.
So, I mean, it's something that you obviously never want to see. I will say that the thing, if anything, that we're a little lucky is that it's probably the deepest position on the team besides maybe guard. Guard I would call a little deeper just for the sake that you don't typically rotate those guys in and out. So if you've got your two starters, you can be set for the whole season as long as nobody gets hurt. But, I mean, you never want to see a guy get hurt or anything like that. But I think it's something that we'll be able to bounce back from and depend on, the guys that would have been behind him.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, your heart goes out for the kid. I mean, that's for being so young, 18, 19, having two ACL tears in the span of 9 months. That's tough. I don't know that he'll ever get back to the true impact he could have had as a five-star recruit or what could have been. I mean, we never. Again, he was an unknown still. Looked good, looks the part. A lot of praise coming out of practice. I just don't know that. I mean, I'm cheering for him. You want to hang in there. Hopefully he gets a position. Even if we only get him for 2 years and he makes a full recovery, I don't know many people that have either had that and have come back and been successful. And I don't know if it'll be as impactful as it could be.
In terms of NFL running backs that have had solid careers, I believe Frank Gore is the only one.
Did he tear both?
He tore both. I don't know if it was in college or one was, but he did tear both and came back and had a pretty solid career. But
he's still playing, isn't he?
I believe so.
He's probably the oldest running back.
You just wonder. Maybe that's a secret.
Yeah.
See, Zamir White's ahead of his time. He saw that.
He's got two bionic knees. But you hope that he's able to, eventually reach his ceiling.
Sure.
Well, he's able to save some wear and tear on his body freshman year. So
yeah, that is. I mean, it could end up being not the worst thing for him. His plan is probably still to go 3 and out. So it's like 2. So that's kind of girly, more because of suspensions, and then he hurt his ankle his sophomore year before he tore his ACL, but.
Right.
He only had like 2 seasons worth of carries when he actually went pro.
Right. As far as morale, I don't see that really affecting morale in the locker room. I mean, obviously, his teammates will, their heart goes out for him just like it does for us. Not being able to see one of your guys go out there and compete and play that's worked hard. But at the same time, I mean, again, we're so deep, and then he's a freshman. Not to say they can't have impact, but I just don't see that really chipping away at the morale or the buzz in the locker room or the confidence or anything that matter.
What about recruiting for the position going forward? I mean, if you're coming in or you're considering Georgia and you see that this guy had this kind of an injury and you can be an impact player, do you think that might have a positive impact for higher rated running backs?
I think it could. I've read we're going to take 2 already. If y'all remember a few shows back, we reported, and you probably read yourself, that we got John Emery, who was a number 2 running back in the 2019 class coming in 5-star. So I mean. We already have him on board, committed, and we're going to take 2. And that kind of goes back to recruiting like Kirby does. I don't see us ever not turning away someone who would. I mean, we're going to go after the top guys regardless, right? We have target guys.
Get who we were going to get, and it's probably going to be somebody pretty good, but I don't know how much one kid tearing his ACL or anything affects recruiting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Again, you want guys that want to come in, and they're not going to shy away from competition anyway. So if that makes someone a little more excited to come in, great, sure, come on. But I don't know. I don't think you want someone that's going to come in and compete with those kids regardless of injury or if someone leaves or attrition or anything. You want someone to come in and beat out that guy regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, can you even count on him coming back and being a solid contributing member of the team, even if he were to come back?
I think solid contributing is reasonable, but it is a fair question to say, like we said, will he ever be able to reach that ceiling that he probably had before he tore either of his ACLs? So
I'll say, contributor. I just don't think he might not be the guy like we would hope he would be, 2 years
He was being
from
hyped
now.
up as, the next Herschel Walker, the next Todd Gurley and stuff like that. So I think statistically, if you're going to put money on it, he'd probably be, not quite as in the record books as Gurley and Chubb and Michelle and Herschel all got to be, but hopefully still a good player for us.
I'm pulling
gets to play in the NFL one day.
I hope we're surprised. I guess contributor, yes.
Supposed to be a good kid from everything you read, so you're rooting for him for sure.
Yeah, but then that also begs the question of the depth chart. And is this going to basically move everybody up a slot, or are we just going to see DeAndre Swift get more carries? And we talked about his load that he could be carrying for the season, that 1,000-yard mark. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, do you think now he's just gonna have to be carrying the ball that much more, and he's going to surpass that by much?
I mean, I think Swift was already going to be the number one guy heading in, and as a freshman, being Zamir White being a freshman, I don't know that he was going to be number 2 right off the bat already. I mean, we want to give it to him just because of how gifted he was and how talented he is, but I don't think that he was going to be number 2 right out of the gate. So I don't think it changes anything as far as who was going to get what, the lion's share of the carries or who was going to get the majority of the carries. I think that was always going to be the plan to see how it develops, because injuries happen in football anyway. I was just going to, I don't think that gives Swift, the much more carries, and now that a potential second or third string running back could have taken.
So that's the thing. It seems like, and it might have just been because Michelle and Nick were just so talented, and it's so rare to have 2 backs of that caliber on the same team. But we really try to find like a 1A and a 1B and ride those 2 pretty hard. And we don't really know who the 1B is going to be. So maybe for the first,
Holyfield's had a big practice.
You got to imagine it's going to be Holyfield, but until we haven't seen enough on the field to 100% say it's going to be him or it's going to be Harrion or it's going to be either. If they're not doing certain things in practice that Kirby wants to see as far as like pass blocking or vision or anything like that. So I think until we truly establish who that 1B, who that last year's version or this year's version of what Sony was last year is going to be, Swift may be the guy that is sort of a feature back, but that I could see his carries falling as the year goes on as we get more comfortable with who's going to. And not to say that it would have been Zamir White. That was probably something we were going to have to figure out as the year went on, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think it was always Swift was kind of in charge of how much he was going to give the ball away himself anyway. Granted, the position has evolved to be such a deep position. You have to have 2 or 3 guys to run the ball in the modern college football game. But I guess that was always going to be up to Swift. Maybe with Zamir not being at his, being able to challenge him a little bit more to take those away. But to me, that if Swift was still going to keep a strong hold on that position, he was always going to get the lion's share. How about this? If he can take the lion's share of carries already, is it to say that Zamir would have taken it from him anyway? Staying healthy, do we think?
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said. I mean, I think Kirby's MO, in my experience, is to try and find. He wants 2 guys to split like 60-40 the majority of the first string snaps, and so we got to find that second guy.
I have a question. I mean, what does this do for Jake Fromm? I mean, is he going to be throwing more now, you think, or you think that nothing changes as far as game plan?
I don't see a freshman who hasn't played a snap yet really changing the scope of our offense just yet. Now, we may look back and say, gosh, we might win a few more games if we had a few more horses in the stable that were reliable, but I really don't see Kirby changing that around for a game, or Jake Fromm really having to change what he does. Because, again, with the addition of Demetrius Robertson, with that, and that's just another weapon we get. So that's why, as much as this hurts, we still have a lot of weapons, so it doesn't hurt. And it sounds it doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah, and Zeus he's kind of the shiny new toy that we were excited to play with. But you got to imagine that Kirby, he's got a plan B and a plan C and a plan D, and there's only so much you're going to rely on a true freshman to contribute. No matter, not because whether or not they get hurt, but they kind of have a ceiling. So I think that we were probably expecting a little more out of him than maybe was realistic, and hopefully a little more than the coaching staff was, so that it doesn't hurt the game planning quite as much. Well, since he did go down.
As a Clemson fan, I mean, I think his situation reminds me a lot of Travis Etienne last year.
Okay.
Coming in, he was like third string freshman, and by the end of the season, he was going. And this year, him and Feaster are going to compete for the starting job and kind of split carries. But he did a lot of good things for Clemson. So if I were Kirby, I would imagine that's what he was looking at or hoping for as far as impact from White. So that's not going to be.
I mean,
there.
you never root against anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Kirby was hoping Zamir was going to win the Heisman. But
let's not
when you're
forget
being realistic. I guess you have to look at across a number of years when we look at how much impact do freshmen tend to have.
Yeah, James Cook has gotten the majority of the flash or praise really coming out of
there's a lot of
preseason and fall practice.
Yeah.
He's been the one that speed, and I would not that they're Zamir's talent level, but I would say we have more of the body type of Zamir White to go through the tackles of Holyfield and Harrion than we do of that speed, maybe kind of scat back.
So we almost maybe would have missed Cook more, even if you'd argue that Zamir is more talented, just in terms of how far the step back is to the guy behind him.
It's just going
Cook
off running
has a
back
skill
type,
set.
body type.
Not everybody seems to have. So so we'll see.
Well, we were fortunate enough to be able to bring on another guest to the show tonight, and I got to say it's a real pleasure to have Kirby Smart joining us via YouTube today. I don't want to hog all of the time here. I know Jimmy had a pretty particular question about this topic that he wanted to bring up. So
I guess Kirby, my question for you is, I don't know a ton about the special teams, how you guys put the depth chart together on those and stuff, but is that normal for running back to be covering punts the way that Zamir was when he got hurt? Would be my question.
You guys are amazing. Sony Michel was the first-round pick last year. He covered a punt. All right?
Okay.
Derrick Henry covered every punt at Alabama. I mean, why would you ask that? Is it unusual for him to be on punt?
It's kind of rude.
Andre Swift's a starter on punt. So is that unusual for our running backs to play?
Jimmy?
I mean, I'm sick for the kid because I don't know the severity of the injury. It's really not fair that all you guys run out there and throw stuff out there and we don't get a chance to talk to his parents. We've talked about that in here before. If you ask me about it after practice, that's fair. It's not fair for that kid kid's mom to find out about it from somebody talking and texting about it from in here.
How else would she find out about it? Carrier pigeon?
All right.
Okay, well,
I apologize. That was a stupid question on my part.
Yeah, and
That's my bad.
Kirby?
Kirby, we still got you? All right, we lost Kirby.
I think we lost Kirby there.
We'll get him on a later podcast.
Well, we appreciate him obviously being on the show.
He did not love that question. though.
Maybe no longer a fan of the show.
We will meet off camera and discuss that, and we'll try and do our best to get him back on the show. But again, appreciate him jumping on.
That was good, Jim. You handled that well, though.
Yeah,
man, that was
He
scary.
was throwing you some heat there.
Yeah, that's
You're
a
right in the
scary man to
crosshairs
have
there.
mad at you. Jeez.
But I got to
Wouldn't
say,
wanna
I
get
understand
yelled
where
at
he's
him.
coming from.
Yelled at by him on the
I like
football field.
that
That's
attitude, even if we're on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, no doubt.
I want to see that from a football coach.
Yeah, you want to control the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing his job. We're doing ours. As members of the press,
That's
we
fair.
are trying to get the
fair.
story for
Right.
that our listeners pay for, that
Do
our,
right by
that
the
our
fans.
sponsors help
That's true,
her
yeah.
pay
Okay.
for. But I understand that Kirby's got to protect his guys, and that's fair.
That was fun, though.
No hard feelings, Kirby.
Yeah. Again, we appreciate you being on the show. So look forward to hopefully having you on again at some point. But
Maybe we'll get him here in studio next time.
yeah, we're going to
It'll be the off season.
get
Maybe
our
bye
people to
week.
talk to his people.
Yeah.
See what we can make happen. But
We'll have our intern reach out to his intern.
Hopefully our intern's listening. Don't have to tell him twice.
yeah. But I know that we wanted to talk a little bit about the offensive line. We were getting some guys shuffled around into different spots, trying to get settled prior to the season. What have you guys seen from there on that end? Do you guys see a clear starters, or what does it look like, and where are they going to settle?
I think we've got a clear starting five. It's basically going to be what it was last year with
Andrew Thomas.
Andrew Thomas switching out to left tackle, and then Isaiah Wilson sliding in at right tackle, and then the interior is going to be the same. I think where you're seeing the shifting going around is them. Kirby doesn't necessarily, I guess Pittman doesn't want to necessarily say that there's a second string left tackle, second string left guard, second string center, maybe just because that's such a specific position.
Sure.
But he basically seems to be of the mindset that we have a number 6 guy and a number 7 guy and a number 8 guy. So if somebody gets hurt, we're going to shift people all around to make sure that the number 6 guy is the first one on the field, not necessarily, the second string right guard, because he may be our ninth best offensive lineman. So I don't think you're seeing them mess around with the starters. I think you're just seeing them cross-train, and you're looking at different scenarios where they're kind of looking at, what if the left tackle got hurt? What if the right guard got hurt? What if the left guard got hurt?
Right.
From there.
Yeah. I mean, what I love about that, too, is in the rotation and then mixing it up is seeing like names like Cade Mays, a true freshman, come in there and like get a rep with the first team. That's fun to hear because to me, to Jimmy's point, building that, that 6, 7, 8, 9, regardless of position, we're just going to shift some guys over that are starters and then plug in the best, just have the best 5 out there. That's exciting to hear for those young guys because that just builds depth more immediately for us to, or I should say depth, it just gives experience to younger kids immediately. It just better serves us down the road. So that's exciting.
So it seems like Solomon Kinley and Cade Mays fighting it out for that number 6 spot, basically, to be the first man on the field if somebody needs a break.
To that point, a true freshman being arguably the 6th best offensive lineman we have is awesome. And speaking of, he's a Knoxville
Well, it's awesome because he was so highly rated. Because if he was a 3-star guy and he was the 6th man, this could be like, this is going to be a disaster if anybody gets hurt.
Fair.
But it is cool that a guy that's that talented and is a freshman and is pushing for reps.
Yeah.
But shout out Cade Mays. He's coming down from Knoxville, Tennessee, just like me. I think I started the Knoxville private school to Georgia train in 2009.
It's a strong pipeline.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what that was.
I was a 2-star. Tried to walk on outside linebacker. They did not let me, but
just a few
I attended a lot of games.
Like,
so
didn't pick you up or just didn't even let you close to the field?
No, I just kind of wandered onto the field, and they were like, "You got it."
We actually made it on the field when we went to open practice. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was
Can't
my
say you
first
never
time.
made it.
Yeah.
Okay, so just like getting past security or like how does I'm just curious. Want to clear that up.
Yeah, I went and bought my own shoulder pads and helmet first day of fall camp freshman year and tried to run out there, and Mark Richt came over and he's like, "No, you got to go."
Oh,
You're the only guy with a helmet on.
But 9 years later, here comes Cade Mays. So,
Well, you notice Mark Richt is no longer there.
yeah,
so
exactly.
That's probably
that's
why.
one of the reasons.
When you pass
Could
up
be.
on talent like this,
Exactly.
sooner or later you're going to find yourself in a hole.
That's going to be his
Some,
legacy.
That's all
guys,
it's called
some guys
Miami.
have it all.
And for anybody watching on YouTube, Jimmy used to much bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
He's on a keto diet right now.
Playing days.
I think is it keto? What makes you look like this? Is that Will? Can you? Will's a product of the Whole 30, by the way.
I did the whole 30 thing. You wouldn't know just by looking at me. But I will say that I did it, and
Sounds terrible.
it wasn't fun,
Okay.
because you can't drink on it, and you can't have basically anything else outside of fruits, vegetables, and meat. You can have as much of that stuff as you want, but basically anything that you enjoy eating or consuming in life, you can no longer have. So,
There's no way to live.
yeah, if you're looking for 30 days of hell, give it a shot. Otherwise, don't.
That got more aggressive as you went. It started out
I am
trying to be,
venting here.
Diplomatic.
That's 30 days of my life I'll never get
I
back.
hated my life so much at the end.
Yeah. But I want to take a break. We're going to continue to talk about college football. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to Ed Freeman from State Farm. I've said it before on this show, and I will say it again. Ed Freeman is by far the best agent in the state, if not the Nebulas. So if you're like me and you seek out the best coverage, if you've got a home, a boat, a car, or a life, look up Ed Freeman State Farm for all of your insurance coverage needs.
We should see if Whole 30 will sponsor us. After
Yeah,
that
they're,
plug
they're definitely
After
on
that
board.
plug, yeah,
that
for
Will
sure.
just gave them.
For
All right,
sure.
moving on. What do we
Yeah,
got?
so we're going to talk about, again, kind of general college football, but something that I think was pretty interesting we talked about before the show is the fact that in the past 10 years, I think it was, that one team out of the top 10 has finished the season unranked at the end, which is really interesting to me. So I wanted
That's
to find out.
preseason top 10.
Right.
Preseason top 10
Yep.
finishes unranked, yeah.
So I want to hear from you guys who you think, if you had to pick a team in the top 10 now, who that's going to be that would fall out and be unranked by the end of it.
Eric, you want to kick it off? We haven't
Probably
heard from you that
Clemson.
much.
Sure. So I took some notes. I did a little research on this
Ooh,
topic
fancy.
and
Easy. Do
looked
look
at the schedule.
Four into this show.
Wanted to
Yeah.
be prepared.
Okay.
You guys are.
That's not
Let's see what
been
you
on
got.
7 episodes.
That's not
here.
what we're about
That's
here.
not really our thing on this show.
But I think it's going to be Washington. I think they're a team a lot of people have in the playoff, but they actually have a pretty difficult schedule looking at open up with Auburn, on the road at Utah, at Washington State, at Oregon. Tough game with Stanford. So I just think that they're going to struggle this year a little bit. I think they're a little bit overhyped, and think they're going to finish the season unranked.
Nice. Jimmy, me, you.
You can take it.
Okay, I was going to go with Auburn, actually. They play 5 ranked teams, Washington being the one that Auburn's at number 9. They opened at number 9, yeah. I was going to go with Auburn. They play 5 ranked teams. That's Washington at a neutral site game, LSU, Mississippi State, at UGA, and at Alabama. They do return 13 starters, 6 on offense, 7 defense, and their quarterback. But Jarrett Stidham, excited as he was, I think being a returner in the same system is obviously beneficial for Gus Malzahn. But Auburn's they're that team, and I have experience with this. They are that high and low, high and low.
Yeah.
Granted, last year ended on a low. That was their high that year. They had a chance to make it. They play the most ranked teams and have I guess they're tied with 3rd fewest returning starters in the top 10. So.
I have read that Auburn has only won 10 games back-to-back seasons one time in the program history. Which, I mean, you could go 9-3 and still end up in the top 25. So historically they are probably going to lose at least 3 games this year.
Well, if you think about it, Auburn was in the Sugar Bowl a few years ago at 8-4 and lost to Oklahoma, finished 8-5, and was still ranked. So
that was in 2016, right?
Yeah,
that was when all Tennessee needed to do to go to the Sugar Bowl was beat Vanderbilt at home.
So Auburn can lose 5 games and still be ranked.
My Tennessee
is my takeaway from that statistic.
Yeah, they do show a little love to the SEC. I think it's fair to say, almost between what y'all two said, that the loser of the Auburn-Washington game you can count on to end up the season unranked. I feel like to lose that big of a game right out of the gate may kind of derail the season a little bit. I'm going to go with Penn State, which I guess is kind of a lazy pick because they're ranked number 10, so they're the closest to already being unranked. But that schedule is pretty brutal. They've got Ohio State, Michigan State, and Michigan and Wisconsin, plus the Big Ten championship. So,
Michigan in the big house.
Yeah, so it's hard to see them, and again, the polls don't seem to be as biased towards those Big Ten teams. So I could see them finishing the season at 9-3 and somehow ending up unranked, whereas Auburn finishes 7-5 and wins their bowl game and finishes at like number 25.
Penn State is also tied with the least amount of returning starters in the top 10.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Tied with, do you know? With Alabama.
Really?
10. They both return.
That is
10.
irrelevant.
So I feel like that's that's Alabama.
That's
just
fair.
going to relive, and I feel like that's kind of not a lazy statistic, but they should have some sort of system where they weight certain positions, because I feel like returning a right guard should not count as heavily as returning. It's important, but as returning a quarterback.
Well, they do return their quarterback.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, there's actually there's 2 teams in the top 10 that don't return a quarterback, being
interesting.
Oklahoma, bye Baker, and Ohio State.
Well, do we see anything with Ohio State with everything going on with Urban Meyer? Them just struggling so much.
We haven't heard anything still. We were hoping something would break before we recorded. It is 8:16 p.m. on Wednesday right now. But
why don't we just say that
weeks?
he got fired and we can say we reported it first if it's true.
We're banking.
Otherwise, we can cut this.
They were supposed to, Urban Meyer has been fired.
Maybe we can get Urban on the podcast.
Urban Meyer will not be punished. Urban Meyer will be suspended.
David, do your magic.
You just cut in whichever one of those ends up being accurate.
What about you, Will? You got any?
So I actually picked Penn State as well for all of the exact same reasons that Jim did.
It's a lazy pick. You clearly Googled this right before the podcast started, just like me.
I'm looking at it right now, so I'm even later. No,
well, there you go.
But they're playing App State right off the bat. We saw what they did to Michigan.
Yeah, that's true. App State is like kryptonite for those Big Ten teams.
Was last year the 10-year anniversary for that?
2007.
Yeah,
how about
it's
that?
like full moon. It's going to happen again.
Yeah, there you
11 years later. Okay, this is the 11th year, so we missed the. Last year was a 10-year.
Yeah.
This is kind of off topic, but it's not on the docket. But do you guys have an unranked team that you think finishes top 15-ish?
Notre Dame.
Navy.
Oh, unranked?
Notre Dame's ranked.
Notre Dame's ranked 12th.
Oh, I thought you said out of the top 10.
No, unranked that ends up sneaking their way in. I'm doing this totally off the top of my head. I feel like they did a pretty good job with the top 25. Is South Carolina ranked?
No, they're not.
There you go. So I'll take South Carolina. I think they have a chance to win.
I think Missouri is a team that could finish the season ranked. I think Drew Lock's pretty good.
Yeah.
Light it up a little bit.
Yeah, because the thing about
After
South
beating
Carolina is they won. I think they went 5-1 in games that were decided by less than 7 points last year, and that stuff tends to kind of regress to the mean. So maybe they got a lot better and they'll just be winning games outright. But if they find themselves in a lot of close games this year, history and statistics say that they're going to take a step backwards and go closer to like 3-3 or 2-4.
The other one that I think of is Oklahoma State. They just always seem to be in the mix, and for whatever reason this year, new quarterback, things like that, they're unranked, but team could be playing well at the end of the season.
Jimmy, I'm going to say you have the another lazy pick for that because South Carolina was the most receiving votes that did not make it in the top 25.
Really?
So.
I that's not on the website I'm looking at. So that's me and the voters are, I'm part of the press now. I voted. That's why. Yeah, I voted them number 26.
Yeah.
Yeah. I emailed my vote to CBS.
They got the 26th most receiving votes. So
okay.
Bold.
All right.
I went with Navy. I think Navy, I don't know. Midshipman.
I think maybe they'll beat somebody. They get that last
Navy.
that
And they got
game
Notre Dame. That's a
at the
cupcake.
very end of the season when nobody else is playing, so they get a little more exposure. So if they beat Army, I guess maybe they get some votes.
Or Army, just the academies.
Friend of the troops here on the show.
Nice.
Yeah, Jack's is it Jack Listen?
Well, Jackson, the Air
Jack's in
Force.
the Air Force.
Brian's in the Army.
Brian is in the Army.
And we have no
We
friends in the Navy.
probably-
So
yeah.
David's going to remove all of this. So.
Okay. All right, so we're going to kind of turn it over to our friend Eric Rumney here because he did come up with some picks for you guys for the degenerate gamblers out there. So Eric's going to talk about a few season picks and then some Labor Day picks for us.
Yeah, well, this is a really exciting time if you like to gamble. So a lot of good stuff going on. I thought I'd talk a little bit about some win totals and then some conference champions that, if you want to make some money at the end of the year, look at these teams.
All right.
For conference champions, I think a really good bet right now is Miami to win the Coastal.
Okay.
Paying out at plus 115, so bet $1 to win 115.
Okay.
I think they're just a team that, returning champion, Mark Richt, a lot coming back, so a team that I think is going to win the Coastal, and that's a good bet right now.
Who would be their biggest competition there? Virginia Tech?
Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, so
Okay.
no one.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, that probably
Themselves,
is a
the
good
University
bet.
of Miami is their biggest competition.
If they can just stay out of their own way.
Mark Richt is his biggest competition.
Biggest dark horse pick to win the conference. I think West Virginia at 7-1. Good
Ooh,
pick.
in the
Will
Big
Greer,
12.
who
Yeah.
I think we're talking about this later, but I think is going to win the Heisman this year.
Wow.
Playing at
Bold.
West Virginia, they're going to put up a lot of points. I think Tennessee is going to get that firsthand week one.
Eric and
But-
I are going out to the Texas-West Virginia game in November.
So we'll get to see it
We'll
firsthand.
Scout that out.
But
We'll,
West
get back
Virginia
to y'all.
7-1, I think, is a good money play.
Who are they? The second best odds in the Big 12 behind Oklahoma?
They are not. Texas is actually the second best odds.
Really?
How about that?
That just seems like Vegas pandering to.
Yeah.
Texas people are going to bet on Texas, so
Up
they
to the
have
money.
to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
and then Labor Day picks. So it's exciting time. And this is the toughest week.
Yeah, Labor
to-
Day is tricky because you haven't seen anybody.
We haven't seen anybody
yet.
play.
Yeah.
We can read some stuff and go off what we saw last year, but that doesn't mean anything.
Sure.
So a couple games I really like. Number one, Florida Atlantic, Oklahoma. Oklahoma 21-point favorites. Brand new quarterback. Always have a weak defense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Georgia put 54 on them.
Yeah.
So
We
At
remember
least
that
you
well.
forget Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
So new quarterback. Always have a weak defense. I think Lane Kiffin's
Got
going
the
to have
Lane train
Joey
coming into
Freshwater.
town.
coming into Norman. So first game of the season. I think that's a game that could be tied going into the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Oklahoma pulls away. So final score 42-28 Oklahoma. They cover Florida.
So
and
FAU to cover. not
FAU
win
to cover the
outright.
21.
Okay.
Next
I like
one
that.
is Syracuse at Western Michigan. Syracuse is only 6-point favorites in that game.
Syracuse is at Western Michigan.
At Western Michigan.
Oh
But
my
Western
gosh.
Michigan, they don't row the boat anymore. PJ Fleck is now at Minnesota.
Yeah, didn't he sue to keep that? Like he
I believe he
trademarked
did,
that and
yeah.
brought it with him to his new school.
I actually saw it. I was in Minneapolis this past weekend.
Oh,
and They
okay.
have a big row the boat thing up there now.
Oh, do they?
Is that a saying?
now they own it.
Do it.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, when he was at Western Michigan, that like row.
They
It was
rowed
like
the boat.
Kirby's chopping wood. That was like
Oh,
his
gotcha.
his
Dabo's
thing.
all
and
in
he
at
actually
Clemson.
he actually trademarked it and took it to a new school when he got a new job. And Western Michigan like
Had to
legally
remove
can't
everything off
use
their
it.
campus.
Yeah, because I guess he owns the rights. to
Syracuse
those words.
returns their quarterback. They also beat Clemson last year. Sad times.
I remember that Friday night game, right?
Friday night
Yep.
game,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
We
had
were
the
at the
carrier
Battery.
dome.
But they're going to be a team that puts up a lot of points, and I think they'll handle Western Michigan by more than 6.
Okay.
And then the last one is a big game, a Sunday night game, Miami LSU. Right now, Miami's favored by 3. I think LSU's program's in shambles. They don't have a quarterback. A lot of things are going on down there. They can't figure it out on offense. I think Miami puts an ass whooping on them.
I could see that. I did read also that LSU is not tackling in any of their preseason camp. They're not going to the ground in any practices.
Curious.
Soft.
So that's going to be.
Like football
Seems
down
like-
in the bayou.
Yeah, it just seems like it's going to be kind of a rude awakening for them. I don't know that Miami is a particularly physical team because Mark Richt teams never tended to be. But, I mean, to not be live tackling until you get on the field the first game seems
shocking.
like that's probably going to be a lot to handle, especially for some of the freshmen and younger
Who is
guys.
it? LSU got the Ohio State quarterback, didn't they?
They
He's cleared
do.
to play.
Burrow, I think is his name, which is what we talked about on I think episode 1 or 2, that they always seem to have some highly ranked quarterback that if I had to bet money on whether or not he's going to be good, I would bet
Not
against him.
Well, they only have 2 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster right now.
Well, so does Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
So how many does Clemson have? Kelly Bryant.
3.
Okay. Trevor Lawrence and
Who was
some
the other guy?
Who will eventually transfer.
No one cares about his name because he
Okay.
will not play.
That's fair.
Heard it here first. What about that Kent, or what is it? Is Georgia State versus Kennesaw State? Yeah, how about that game? Little local game.
How
Any
about
love
that
there?
game?
Anyone check it out? Tickets are as low as $24 if you want to go check it out.
Probably free on
That game's on InWeGo.
Thursday.
You
Is
could
that
go to that
really?
game for free on InWeGo. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Speaking of In We Go,
There you go.
I want to give a shout out to our friends over at In We Go. For just $30 a month, you get unlimited access to events in and around the city. In We Go is live now in Atlanta, Phoenix, Denver, and just opened up subscriptions in Washington, D.C. So if you're like us and are interested in checking out a lot of the local sports, concerts, and breweries, be sure to check out In We Go.
Speaking of In We Go, a fun event Jimmy and I are doing this weekend is if you want to come find us there, Saturday we're going to the Georgia Football Hall of Fame.
College Football Hall of Fame.
Who did you say was going?
Georgia football.
He said Georgia. It's basically
There's no other team that matters. It's in
that's all
Georgia,
it is.
so-
But yeah, you can get free
college
admission all
football
day
thing.
Saturday. Tyler will be there. Tyler and I will be there signing autographs.
Yeah, so when you
I
come
will-
see us, come check us out.
We're
Come
going to
say
set
hey.
up a table
Get a
and
shout
just
out.
see if anybody makes us leave.
Yep.
From 12 to 2.
Maybe get some opinions to talk about next week on the show.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're open
Yeah,
for
maybe do
that.
some
But
Facebook
comment.
Live. Yeah.
And even if you tell us, comment, share, like, subscribe.
I'm also going to be there.
Oh, are
Yeah,
you?
Will's
Oh, okay, cool.
gonna be.
We actually talked about this right before the
Sorry,
show.
we did.
We're going to the Cubs game next week, too.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. I think that's a rainout reschedule, actually, from
Is
the
it?
last game they had in this series.
The,
'Cause I was-
the Thursday night game, it says guaranteed to be 100 or 200 level tickets.
which I thought was pretty awesome.
yeah, that's pretty neat.
Because I was like, I had
Can I
tickets.
still get this?
Yeah. It's,
Can
it
I
hasn't-
do it live
It
right
hasn't
now?
gone live yet. No, it's
Oh,
next
okay.
Thursday. It's a week from tomorrow.
Use code Pylon.
Yeah,
Yeah, use,
and that's
yeah,
another
use
thing.
promo
Oh,
code
yeah.
Pylon.
Yeah, Jesus,
we should
I'm
probably
slacking
keep
here.
recording the podcast and stop just talking to each other.
Hey, this
Okay.
is the best part. This is the best content we've got.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, that's definitely going to be exciting. I had tickets to that game. I'm looking forward to catching them. It's going to be the last time that they're at SunTrust this year, so definitely really exciting. But to get back on track, Eric, did you have anything else as far as the picks that you wanted to address? Or did we
Well, I thought
cover
it'd just be
everything?
fun to talk for a second about Tennessee.
Here we
Yeah.
go.
So over under on Tennessee this year for wins 6.5. I don't think
wanna pull
there's
up their
any
schedule
way they
real
get to
quick.
6.5 wins.
I think 5.5 would have been reasonable. I think 6. I think
Okay.
if you're a Tennessee fan, making a bowl is probably your ceiling. But
Yeah.
I think that West Virginia is going to score as many points as they want to on Tennessee against that secondary with the Will Greer, like we talked about, coming back. So they'll score 70 if they feel like it.
Can we walk through the
It'll
schedule real quick?
Yeah, we can.
Let's-
But
I just
it'll
wanna
be-
call it out and
It'll
see.
be interesting to see if
well, they have
Tennessee can respond to that.
They're at Georgia. They have Alabama, Auburn from the West.
Let's go. Let's go in
We're
order.
giving them.
and
We're giving them
just-
too much credit.
Let's
and too
go
much
in
airtime
order and
here.
just say
Yeah.
win loss for each
Okay.
game.
West Virginia.
Loss.
ETSU.
Win.
Push.
UTEP. God.
Win. All right.
horrible.
Tennessee 2-1.
Florida at home.
Loss.
Loss.
At Georgia.
Loss.
At Auburn.
Loss.
Versus Alabama.
Loss.
At South Carolina.
Loss.
I agree with
Loss.
all these. Charlotte.
Win.
Win.
Kentucky at home.
Loss.
Push.
Missouri at home.
Loss.
At Vanderbilt.
Win.
Loss.
Win.
Win. Okay.
What did that get?
4-8.
4-8.
We have to see a 4-8.
There you go.
All right, we'll put that in the vault.
So we have
Take
wins
that out.
versus ETSU, UTEP, Charlotte,
Vanderbilt.
and then
Vanderbilt.
one SEC game.
So one SEC win
Is-
at Vanderbilt.
Well, that would be an improvement for Tennessee, who won
Yeah.
zero
Zero
SEC
last year.
games.
yeah, I'm kind of rooting for them to keep up their active losing streak against every single team in the SEC.
Yeah, if someone
It's a
disagrees with
pretty
that
cool statistic.
or sees another win in the SEC, we'd love to know who that would be.
Yeah, if you think that Tennessee is going to win more than one SEC game, tweet at us and let us know what the two are going to be.
Yeah.
We'll try and get you an Ed Freeman State Farm T-shirt if you're right.
Awesome.
That's great.
That was fun.
So we did kind of want to move on and talk Heisman watch for the year. I know it's kind of early, but I wanted to find out who you guys thought would be some of the front runners in the discussion. And Eric, we'll start off with you.
Yeah, well, going into the season, Tua at Alabama, I know is the betting favorite right now. I think that's a little ridiculous and not really fair to him. But
Yeah.
that's where we're at. So I know he's a favorite. I personally, like I said earlier, have Will Greer quarterback from West Virginia. A lot of experience, a lot of weapons. They're going to score a ton of points. I see it being like a Robert Griffin thing.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Going the team that goes 8-4, 9-3, but he has such an explosive year and does so much for his team that he wins the Heisman. I also think some guys in the mix are going to be, Browning from Washington's going to be up there.
Yeah.
And then we'll have some running. Damian Harris from Alabama will probably get some love if he has a big season. And we'll see what, Fromm and some other guys can do. So
Yeah. So I think that putting your money on Tua at this point, just with those odds, is one of the worst things you can do with your money at this time. I mean, we just haven't really seen that much of him. Maybe he'll be really good. Maybe he will win the Heisman. But when you have essentially played a half of football that mattered and you're at, 1-4 odds?
No, it's
I thought it
shifted.
Well, 4-1.
They're not
Yeah.
shift.
Plus 400. Whatever. Yeah, but I mean, even so, I would shy away from Tua just because the odds are not long enough for me. And then I would always look in the preseason towards a quarterback because it tends to be a quarterback. So I think Will Grier to that point is a great pick. Maybe Trace McSorley out of Penn State after having lost the running back to the Giants.
Barkley.
Barkley. He's going to have to do a lot more in kind of the same way that we're expecting Jake Fromm to take a step forward this year, but he's a little bit older and maybe doesn't have quite as good of running backs coming back behind what was Barkley's position last year. So I guess I'll go McSorley out of Penn State, but I think that Will Grier is a really good pick.
Yeah, I also think back to the Tua piece. That's when as an Alabama quarterback. I know they've won it. Who won it? Namath.
Did Joe Namath win the Heisman?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah,
I mean, they've had some good ones. Bart Starr, Kenny Stabler.
Yeah, but
Joe Namath.
I don't think in today's Alabama system, I don't think a quarterback wins.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, I
hard
don't
to
want
see
to say
that
game
happening.
manager because the kid's talented for sure, but I don't see him winning that.
So who you got?
Who do I pick? I'm going to go with I've never been a big, I guess, who's going to win the Heisman. I'm not that well versed outside in the Pac-12 guys. I know Eric went with a lot of guys who are going to sling the ball a lot. A lot of eye-popping video game numbers. I'm just going to be a homer, and I'm going to go Jake Fromm.
There you go.
Why not?
I think Georgia's offense will be the first unit to win the Heisman.
There you go.
They'll just collectively win it.
Yeah.
All 11 guys will go up there.
I know
This could be the year the defensive player wins it, maybe.
Who on defense would you say?
Is there
Some defensive lineman from Clemson, could have
Okay.
That's not a homer pick either. Just facts. But,
who's the closest defensive player to ever winning it? Ndamukong Suh?
well, Charles Woodson won it.
Yeah.
But he was a punt returner.
Yeah, I would have said
whatever you
Nassau
wanna
over,
call
was
that.
it Bradford that year? It felt to me like, I think
Bradford won it. I
won it
believe.
when I thought Sue should
Or did
have.
Mark Ingram win it that year? Was that 2009?
No, I thought it was Sam Bradford.
Bradford was 08. Ingram was 2009.
Ingram was in 9, and I'm pretty sure Sue was there in 9 because I feel like I remember watching that Big 12 championship game in the Georgia dorms.
That's when they won what?
Shout out to Russell. Hi, Russell.
Manti
Texas
Te'o
won,
was also
like-
a consideration.
I was going to say Taya was up there too.
Oh, yeah.
Baby Sale.
Shame about
Jabril
his
Peppers has
girlfriend.
been up there in the recent years.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lazy pick, I know, but I don't know. It's never, I don't know, it always
If
surprises you
Roquan
anyway.
had come back, Roquan would have won the
No
Heisman
doubt.
this year.
I'll tell
say
you a
that.
dark horse.
That's
that-
easy money.
A dark horse is Shea Patterson out of Michigan. He's got a lot of
fair.
talent, and if Michigan
Coming from Ole
plays,
Miss, right?
Coming from Ole Miss, he's been there before, and if he plays well and kind of puts Michigan, they beat Ohio State, beat Michigan State. He's going to be a guy that's going to get some love.
fair.
Yeah, the media does tend to. They're very polarized about Michigan. When Michigan's doing well, they love propping up Michigan. Like they love Jabril Peppers so much
Yeah.
for whatever reason, but if Michigan's not doing well, everybody loves to kind of dump on them. So we'll see. Yeah, if they get rolling, I think Shea Patterson's a good pick too.
Awesome.
Will, and you got
one
a
more?
Heisman pick?
I was going to say Jake Fromm, but maybe Khalil Tate from Arizona. That was
All
my
right.
other pick.
Yeah, that's a
Arizona.
good Robert Griffin parallel from what they say. He is a real athletic quarterback, and I don't really watch that much West Coast football.
Yeah, that's the
but
thing. It's like
definitely
I
know
don't.
his name.
I know they sing the ball out there, but you just I don't watch it that much.
So he had like just as many rushing yards as he did passing, and they said that he was looking better to have more passing yards this season. So I just figured maybe dual threat.
good, he's a
with
quarterback.
The schedule that they had. So yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure. Eric, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast here. I want to thank you guys, of course, for watching. Be sure to subscribe where you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and obviously watch us on YouTube here. So from all of us here, thank you again for tuning in. We look forward to speaking to you next week. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I guess when allowed. I guess when allowed. Just do it.
Just be like, we got Kirby Smart here to talk about it.
Got Kirby Smart here.
Talk about Zamir-
And then-
talk
and
about
then it'd be like
injury.
Kirby,
Zamir White's
the
injury.
question we have for you is that normal for second string running backs to be on second team punt cover and then you can press play?
You guys are amazing.
Yeah, right there.
I'm going to show you the first round pick last year. He covered a punt. All right. Derrick Henry covered every punt at Alabama.
I was just asking.
Okay,
Why
I'm sorry.
would you ask that?
I'm just
Is it
saying.
unusual for him to be on? DeAndre Swift's the starter.
my
And then
job,
just like
Kirby,
cut it.
Jesus.
So is that unusual for our running backs to play?
I honestly don't know. I'm just asking.
I mean, I'm sick for the kids. I don't know. I don't know the severity of the injury. It's really not fair that all you guys run out there and throw stuff out there, and we don't get a chance to talk to his parents. We've talked about that in
I
here
didn't
before.
tweet anything.
If you ask me about it after
5
practice,
followers.
that's fair.
I think it'll be funny.
Yeah.
Or it won't. Who knows? It's our podcast.
Screw it.
Yeah.
We're not getting paid yet.
If anybody's
so.
listening to this on the back end, you don't think it's funny, I don't even care. Screw you.
If any of our sponsors have anything to say, they can.
Yeah, if
let us
Wild
know.
Heaven
Slide into
doesn't
my
like
DMs.
it too damn bad.